Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cutting beneath the surface, literally, to explore the integumentary system.
Yeah,
This is the body's largest organ, the one you see every single day, and yet it's probably one of the most misunderstood.
absolutely.
So our mission is to take your source material and really discover the surprising complexity that's hidden in this vital barrier.
It's the ultimate boundary,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it does so much more than just contain you.
Right.
The integument is a living, functional mirror of your internal state.
Right.
I mean, think about it. When you blush with embarrassment or, flush with rage,
Your skin is showing it.
your skin is immediately reflecting neurological and circulatory changes that are happening deep inside.
Okay, so let's unpack this protective layer. When we talk about the integumentary system, what are we actually talking about?
We're talking about the skin itself, which is the cutaneous membrane,
Okay.
and then everything attached to it.
Yeah.
So the accessory structures like hair, nails, and all the different glands, it's a whole system working together.
And the amount of work it does is, it's kind of incredible.
It's phenomenal. Based on the functions listed in your source material, we can break down its duties into, 6 major categories?
Yeah,
You've got massive physical protection against all the environmental hazards.
that's the obvious one.
Then thermoregulation, so keeping your body temperature stable. Excretion of wastes through sweat.
And synthesis of vitamin D3, which is crucial.
So important for calcium and bone health. Then sensation, allowing you to feel the world.
And finally, immune defense.
The specialized immune defense, yeah. There's a staggering list of responsibilities.
It really is. And structurally, it's this masterclass in layered design. We're seeing all 4 basic tissue types working together here.
Exactly. And it's all organized into 3 major layers, starting from the surface.
Okay, so walk us through them.
At the very top at the surface, we have the specialized epithelium. That's the epidermis.
Right.
Beneath that, you get this thick foundational layer of connective tissue, the dermis. And then deep to the dermis, stabilizing the whole system over your muscle and bone, you have a loose connective tissue layer called the subcutaneous layer.
Also called the hypodermis, right?
Hypodermis, or
Yeah.
sometimes superficial fascia. Yeah. The whole system is stable, but still, flexible enough for us to move.
It's incredible that something so thin is so strong.
Let's zoom in on that visible layer, the epidermis.
Okay.
It's a stratified squamous epithelium. What kind of specialized cells are running the show here?
Well, beyond the most numerous cells, the keratinocytes that build the structure, you have 3 crucial specialists. First, you have melanocytes. They're the ones manufacturing the pigment that gives us color and UV protection,
Then the Merkel cells.
which work with sensory nerves to detect light, touch, and pressure. And third, the Langerhans cells.
What are they?
These are basically wandering immune cells, phagocytes that patrol the epidermis, looking for pathogens or even cancer cells.
So the epidermis isn't just a physical wall, it's an active immune surveillance site.
It absolutely is. Wow. Okay, so let's follow this process of hardening, or keratinization. We can do that by walking through the 5 layers you find in thick skin.
Like on the palms and soles, yeah.
Exactly. Tell us about the foundation. Where does it start?
We start at the very bottom, the stratum basale,
Also known as the stratum germinativum.
the germinating layer, exactly. This is the deep anchoring layer. It's where the large basal cells, the stem cells, live,
And they're constantly dividing.
constantly dividing to replenish all the layers above them. This is also where you find those vital melanocytes and Merkel cells.
And here's a phenomenal insight that your source material points out. When you look at 2 people with different skin tones, the difference isn't the number of melanocytes.
No, not at all.
It's the activity level of those melanocytes.
Absolutely. The number is generally the same across all people.
That's fascinating.
So moving up from there, the new cells get pushed into the stratum spinosum, the spiny layer.
It's a spiny layer.
Here, the cells start to differentiate and they build this internal scaffolding, protein filaments called tunofibrils,
Okay.
and these extend to powerful cellular junctions, locking the cells together for incredible strength. This layer is also where we see a high concentration of those patrolling Langerhans cells.
The cells are getting stronger, building their internal skeleton. But the really pivotal moment where they commit to becoming a water barrier, that's the stratum granulosum.
This is the granular layer, and it's basically a cellular death sentence for everything above it.
A death sentence.
Yes. Here, the cells produce 2 critical proteins, keratohyalin and keratin. But the real game changer is when these membrane-bound granules release specialized lipids.
And that creates a seal.
It forms an effective water-resistant sealant between the cells, which stops nutrient diffusion. And because the cells above this layer can't get nutrients,
They die.
they die.
And the sources note a fascinating clinical connection here. If you subject this layer to chronic friction, like, say, gripping a shovel or a barbell every day,
Right.
you force increased synthesis of those proteins, which leads directly to the protective thickening we call calluses, or hyperkeratosis.
It's the body's perfect localized engineering response to stress. It's brilliant.
It really is.
So, continuing up, in thick skin, we find the clear layer, the stratum lucidum. The cells here are flat, densely packed, and have lost all their organelles and nuclei.
So they're just sacs of keratin.
Essentially, yes. Just sacs filled with keratin filaments.
And then finally, the ultimate surface, the stratum corneum.
This is the visible layer. It's made of many layers of flattened, dead, keratinized cells.
Like a biological plastic wrap.
That's a great way to think of it. It's water resistant, but it's not waterproof. We lose about 500 milliliters of water every single day through insensible perspiration.
Wow, half a liter.
Just water slowly diffusing and evaporating from the surface.
And you don't even notice it. So before we leave the surface, let's look at the structure. The epidermis has these epidermal ridges, and they interlock perfectly with the dermal papillae below. That's like a biological Velcro system, isn't it?
It is. That interlocking increases the surface area of contact, and it boosts the strength against separation.
And on the palms and soles.
On the palms and soles, those ridges create genetically unique patterns, your fingerprints, which increase friction and make sure you have a secure grip.
Let's quickly circle back to skin color because it's such a visual indicator of health. Beyond melanin, we have two other key factors.
Right.
First, the dermal blood supply.
Oxygenated blood running through the capillaries gives light-skinned individuals that healthy pinkish tone. But when circulation is impaired, or if oxygen levels drop,
You get that bluish tint.
you get that bluish cast, yeah. It's called cyanosis. You see it most easily in areas of thin skin, like the lips or under the nail beds.
And the third factor is carotene.
The orange-yellow pigment we absorb from foods like carrots, which can be converted into vitamin A, super important for epithelial health.
Okay, so back to melanin. Its main job is protection.
Protection. It absorbs UV radiation, protecting the nuclear DNA in the cells underneath from damage.
And the source material really emphasizes this balancing act.
It's a trade-off. We need some UV exposure to synthesize vitamin D3,
Right.
but too much causes cellular damage.
Right.
So when you get UV exposure, it triggers the melanocytes to ramp up production, which leads to a tan. But that process is slow.
How slow.
It takes about 10 days to fully activate that defense shield.
Which is why relying on your natural tan for protection is a recipe for a terrible sunburn on day one of your vacation.
Exactly.
Now let's transition deeper into the strong foundation beneath the epidermis, the dermis.
Okay.
This is where the heavy-duty connective tissue lives, and it's split into two layers.
The top layer is the papillary layer. It's made of loose connective tissue, and it's named for those dermal papillae that project upward.
And they fit into the epidermal ridges.
They fit right in. And critically, this layer holds the capillaries that supply the non-vascular epidermis, and it houses a lot of our superficial sensory neurons.
And the real engineering marvel is the deeper reticular layer.
This is dense, irregular connective tissue, and it is truly resilient. It forms this dense, interwoven mesh of collagen fibers for strength.
And elastic fibers for flexibility.
Right. We lose this thickness and flexibility as we age, and that's what leads to sagging and wrinkles.
And if the skin is distorted too rapidly or extremely, like during rapid weight gain or late pregnancy, the physical limits of those elastic fibers are exceeded,
They snap.
resulting in stretch marks. It's the skin hitting its physical breaking point.
Precisely. Now, for surgeons, the organization of this layer is critical. The collagen fiber bundles, they tend to be oriented in specific directions.
To resist normal stress and tension.
Right. This arrangement creates predictable patterns called tension lines or cleavage lines.
So why does the surgeon care about these lines?
Well, because if an incision is made parallel to the tension lines, the cut tends to stay closed. It minimizes the damage, and it significantly reduces scarring and speeds up healing time.
And if you cut across them?
If the cut is perpendicular, the elastic fibers on either side recoil and pull the wound open, leading to a much wider, more pronounced scar.
That's a life-saving bit of anatomy right there. Let's talk about the blood supply. How is this whole region fed?
The blood supply is highly organized into two networks, or plexuses. Deepest down along the border with the hypodermis is the cutaneous plexus.
Okay.
And then smaller arteries branch off that to form the subpapillary plexus closer to the epidermis. This circulation is essential not just for nutrients, but for tightly controlling body temperature.
Which requires constant regulation.
Constant regulation, yeah.
Moving to the deepest layer, the subcutaneous layer, or hypodermis. Now, it's not technically part of the integument.
Right, but it's stable anchor. It's mostly loose connective tissue with a lot of adipocytes, fat cells.
So it's like bubble wrap.
Specialized bubble wrap and insulation, yeah. It stabilizes the skin relative to the muscle underneath, allows for independent movement, and acts as a fantastic shock absorber.
Which is why children have that baby fat.
They're naturally cushioned.
And it's this elasticity and lack of major organs that makes it the best target for hypodermic injections.
It's deep, it's stable, and it's relatively safe.
Correct. And we can't forget sensation. We mentioned Merkel cells up in the epidermis, but the dermis has a whole suite of sensitive receptors.
It does. You've got tactile corpuscles for light touch, graffiti corpuscles for stretch detection,
And those big layered ones.
the large layered lamellated corpuscles for sensing deep pressure and vibration.
Okay, before we move on to the accessories, let's just pause and reflect on the dangers in this system. Skin cancer.
Right.
We have three main types. The most common, but least dangerous, is basal cell carcinoma.
Originating in the stratum basale, it rarely metastasizes.
Then squamous cell carcinoma, which is mostly on sun-exposed skin.
Mm.
But the one that raises the most concern is malignant melanoma.
This one originates in the melanocytes. And because melanocytes are highly mobile cells, this cancer grows very quickly.
And it metastasizes.
It has a high propensity to metastasize rapidly through the lymphatic system, which dramatically reduces the survival rate unless it's caught very, very early.
Let's shift our focus to the accessory structures, the stuff that grows out of the skin. Starting with hair and hair follicles.
Okay.
These are non-living structures, but they perform essential functions, right? Head protection, cushioning, preventing particles from getting into your nose or ears.
And thanks to the root hair plexus that's wrapped around the base, they also act as really sensitive touch receptors.
So how is hair produced?
It's a specialized, deep-seated process of keratinization. The hair starts in the hair matrix inside the hair bulb, which surrounds the hair papilla.
Which supplies the nutrients.
Exactly. The hair itself has an inner medulla, which is soft keratin, and an outer cortex of hard keratin.
And the muscle responsible for that creepy crawly feeling, the one that makes your hair stand on end.
That's the erector pili muscle, a tiny strand of smooth muscle.
So when it contracts, say, when you're cold or scared,
it pulls the hair follicle upright, causing that dimpling effect we call goosebumps.
And we have different types of hair.
We do. There are the fine, non-pigmented vellus hairs, or peach fuzz, intermediate hairs on the limbs, and then the heavy, pigmented terminal hairs, like on your scalp and eyebrows.
And hair growth happens in cycles.
An active phase that can last for years, followed by a resting phase where the hair becomes a club hair before it eventually sheds.
And that cycle is sensitive to hormones.
Very. And that sensitivity, plus some genetic predispositions, is why the conversion of terminal hair back to vellus hair leads to common types of hair loss, like male pattern baldness.
Okay, now for the glands. We have two main types of exocrine glands embedded in the dermis. First, the sebaceous glands.
The oil glands. They use holocrine secretion to produce a waxy, oily substance called sebum.
And that usually gets discharged into the hair follicle.
Usually, yeah. And sebum is vital. It lubricates the hair and skin, keeps them pliable, and it secretes compounds that inhibit the growth of bacteria.
And these glands are notoriously sensitive to sex hormones.
Which is why we see a huge surge in activity during puberty. When those ducts get blocked and the secretions build up, you get inflammation and sometimes infection.
And that's the clinical condition we call acne.
That's acne. We also see seborrheic dermatitis when these glands are overactive, causing inflammation and flaking.
Like dandruff.
Dandruff in adults or cradle cap in infants. Exactly.
The second major group is the sweat glands, or sudoriferous glands. We need to clearly differentiate the two main types here.
Right. First, you have the apocrine sweat glands. They're located in limited areas, the axillae, nipples, groin.
Oh, okay.
And they produce a viscous, cloudy, protein-rich secretion that's actually odorless when it leaves the gland.
So the odor only develops later.
Only when bacteria on the skin break down that secretion. Their activity is heavily influenced by hormones, which is why they become active at puberty.
And the ones that truly define our ability to stay cool.
Those are the merocrine or acrine sweat glands. These are the heavy hitters, about 3 million of them total, all over the skin.
And they produce sensible perspiration.
A thin, watery, fluid sweat directly under the surface. Their primary function is thermoregulation. As that water evaporates, it draws heat away from the body.
Essential cooling.
Essential cooling. They also excrete water and electrolytes.
And finally, two specialized sweat glands, mammary glands,
Modified apocrine glands for milk production,
and ceruminous glands in the ear canal.
which produce cerumen or earwax. It's a sticky protective barrier.
Last in the accessory section, we have the nails.
Non-living structures formed at the nail root. Their main job is to protect the exposed tips of your fingers and toes from mechanical stress.
And the little white crescent is the lunula.
That's the lunula, and the fold of stratum corneum is the eponychium, or the cuticle.
Yeah.
And changes in the nail body, like if they get a yellow tint or become brittle, that's often one of the first visible signs of an underlying systemic disease or a nutritional deficiency.
Let's talk about how this phenomenal organ heals itself. The good news is the skin can regenerate because those stem cells persist.
In the epidermis and the dermis, yeah.
But when an injury extends into the dermis, the repair process follows 4 distinct stages.
Step 1. The injury causes bleeding, and specialized mast cells kick off an inflammatory response. That leads to swelling and pain.
Step 2. A blood clot forms, creating a protective scab of fibrin.
Right. And the basal cells immediately start migrating along the wound edge, while phagocytic cells swarm the area to clean up any debris.
In step 3, we see the formation of granulation tissue. What exactly is that made of?
It's a mix. It's the dissolving clot, a huge influx of fibroblasts that start making new collagen, and a massive network of new capillaries that grow into the area to supply the healing tissue.
And the final result, step 4, is scar tissue.
The scab sheds, and the injured dermis gets replaced by scar tissue. It's fibrous, it's inflexible, and critically, this new tissue cannot regenerate the original structures.
So it's a patch job.
It's a patch job. Scar tissue permanently replaces any hair follicles, glands, nerves, and muscle cells that were destroyed. That is the practical biological limit of the skin's healing ability.
And when that scar formation is excessive, growing into the surrounding dermis, that's what we call a keloid.
It is. The source material also knows that inserting pigment deep into the dermis, deeper than where the epidermis regenerates, is exactly how tattoos work.
The pigment sits in the connective tissue?
Which is why it remains visible for a lifetime, unless the body, tries to expel it.
Finally, what does time do to this system? Let's summarize the major effects of aging.
Well, the overall repair process slows down dramatically. A blister might take twice as long to heal in an elderly person.
Wow.
The epidermis thins, making the skin fragile and prone to tears and infection. The number of immune-related Langerhans cells drops by about 50%.
Reducing immune protection and that nutritional consequence we talked about.
Vitamin D production declines by as much as 75%. That significantly affects calcium levels and bone strength, often requiring supplementation.
And the glands.
Glandular activity decreases. Less sebum means dry, scaly skin. Reduced merocrine sweat means the elderly lose heat less effectively, making them highly susceptible to overheating.
And structurally, the dermis thins, elastic fibers break down, leading to the familiar loss of flexibility and definition.
Hair follicles stop functioning or start producing that fine, colorless hair. It's really a system-wide slowdown.
So what does this all mean for you? Our deep dive has shown that the integument is a masterpiece of biology, a dynamic, self-repairing, multi-layered barrier that defines us, protects us, and constantly communicates our internal state.
And if we connect this back to the grand system of homeostatic regulation, you have to remember that tight regulation of blood flow to the skin, which is essential for thermoregulation.
Right, dilating vessels to dump heat, constricting them to conserve it.
The amount of blood the body has is constant. So therefore, a massive increase in blood flow to the skin to dissipate heat must inherently force a constant physiological trade-off. A necessary and temporary decrease in blood flow to some other major organ system elsewhere in the body just to maintain circulatory stability.
A truly complex system, constantly making these trade-offs to keep the whole structure in balance. Thank you for sharing your sources with us and for joining us on this deep dive into the integumentary system.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.